How are you, Sana?
Hey Matthew, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Of course. Is our boy James still there, Viscardi?
Yeah, he's still here.
Oh, tell him I say hi.
No problem. Will do. Well, you had said previously that this was Miss Marvel was such a great fit for TV and for a show, and it really does suit it so well. At least after seeing the first two episodes, what about the character and the world kind of makes for such an easy transition? And what was the biggest challenge in kind of adapting Kamala and her world of characters into the MCU?
I mean, I think the comic book so naturally translates like to live action because it's such a, obviously comic books are of course visual like cinema is and live action is, but there's something very bright and vibrant about the comics that we really wanted to capture, and I think was a lot of fun to capture. And I feel like we were most excited about that. And of course it was also a challenging thing to make sure that it felt, fun and cool and interesting, but also not overly but not so far removed from the MCU that you couldn't believe that she's going to run across the river and potentially, go hang out with who's left alive? Thor? I don't know. I was like struggling. I was like, wait a minute, who do we got left? So I think that was overall the creative challenge of just kind of finding that balance between style and some of the more realness of the MCU, if I can say that.
Well, and I think also there was a lot of talk around the powers, and I know it was kind of a group decision, just kind of seeing like how her power set fits within the greater MCU, and I think the show did a really good job of finding a nice halfway point because you get to play with some of the things we see in the books, but it fits within this kind of specific framework that is different. Was that kind of the goal for finding that spot?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, we had earlier iterations where, and I haven't told anyone this. You're getting it first. We had earlier, we had earlier iterations where the powers were a little bit more like limitless, and this is just in early talks of it, where not limitless, but she was able to kind of manipulate and create things, any kinds of like kind of light energy, and it just didn't feel right to me. It felt like I'm like we still wanted to make sure we had that comic book connectivity for sure. Those visuals are really important to us. And bringing in those embiggen fists and those embiggen legs and kind of playing with that aspect, which was really fun, and how like the powers were morphing and distorting her body a little bit in strange ways, I think were just a nice little homage to the comics, and yet were evolved. So I do think we had that touchstone. And then at the same time, I think evolving the powers from an origin standpoint, so it was linked, I think, more closely to her heritage is quite strong. I think it's an important message in the context of what this show is all about and what Kamala's story is all about. And so we kind of leaned into that, and we leaned into that. And it also was sort of a marker of things to come in the MCU, which, you'll see more of in future things that I can't talk about.
Well, you brought up Amon, and my word, like such a wonderful, perfect casting. And just so, she is the character in so many ways. What did you think the first time you saw her in that role, and what does she bring to this part?
She is, and I just feel like she is Kamala in a lot of ways, and there's a familiarity I have with her. I mean, it's weird because I felt like that of Kamala, the comic book character, and then when I met Iman, I was like, I know you, like I know you, I know who you are. So it was lovely to have her. I'm so grateful for her. And it's wild. It's wild. I'm sure this is all crazy and overwhelming for her too. Just kind of going through this entire experience. It's been amazing. And she's just really, I think, uplifted the whole show.
Well, she's wonderful. And there is such a wonderful familiarity. For those who've read the comics, it really feels like that character has jumped out. And, of course, a big part of her character is this, fandom of Captain Marvel. It's been such an important part of who she looks up to in the books and everything. And that has wonderfully made the transition. And I love how the intro was done to kind of establish that, like right off the bat. get some really quick things, even a little kind of mini recap as well. What can you talk about as far as teasing the presence of Captain Marvel as this series goes on? And are there going to be surprises in store as well for people who have read the books?
I think there certainly will be some surprises as well. I mean, I think there's the show overall, the series, I think encapsulates, so many great aspects of the 52 run. How many issues did Willow do? But just really like that big run of Willow's, that I think, went to so many different kinds of places and touched on some really lovely, stories about, Kamala's family and her heritage. And I think that's something that we're exploring in a fun way. And we go places that are quite unexpected, not only like in the MCU, but I think really just in like Western media. Like you haven't really seen a show like this in many ways. So we're just kind of excited to bring people that story. And we're just bringing a lot of flavor and spice. There's some fun elements in episode 3. You saw some weird things happening in episode 2, which were a lot of fun for us to play with. Have you seen these episodes yet?
I've seen the first 2. I have not seen beyond that.
Yeah. So yeah, like episode 2, I feel like is kind of a marker for us of like tonally what we like playing with in the show. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the time and congratulations. It's a great show.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem.